Welcome to the Industry 4.0 Club's Fireside Chat. The club's purpose is to engage the power of diverse worldwide talent to accelerate the global evolution to Industry 4.0. We accomplish this by hosting and supporting respectful, thoughtful, and interdisciplinary open conversations and creating quality content on wide-ranging Industry 4.0 topics to expand the reach of our community. My name is Mike Ungar, and I am the CEO of the Industry 4.0 Club. I have over 40 years of leadership and manufacturing experience, most of that with Michelin. I'm joined today by my co-host, Mike Yost. Mike is chairman of the club. Would you mind introducing yourself, please, Mike?
I'm Mike Yost. I'm the volunteer chairman of the Industry 4.0 Club, one of the club's co-founders and Mike's co-host here on these Industry 4.0 Fireside Chats. And I've been in the industry about 35 years with pretty much half of that on the industrial solution provider side, and the other half spent with industrial nonprofits. So really excited to engage today with our guest. We'll be speaking with Barrett Hopper, who's the operations director of the Americas for MES Instruments. This is a preview of Barrett's presentation. He's going to be speaking at the MX.0 Midwest event in my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. He'll be speaking on September 16th, 2025. And the title of his presentation is From Resistance to Results, a Manufacturing Execution System, Journey of Implementation. Now, I'm an old MES guy, so I'm really looking forward to hearing his full presentation and engaging with Barrett here today. I'm sorry. So just quick introduction of Barrett. He's a leadership and operations executive with over 25 years of global experience transforming manufacturing and supply chain organizations. As a director of operations for MES Instruments America, Barrett has led large-scale digital transformations, including multi-site MES rollouts, lean process improvements as well. He's the creator of the strategical leadership approach, which fuses strategic clarity, tactical discipline, and cultural empowerment to drive exceptional results. He's a dedicated marathon runner since 1983, and Barrett embodies his 1 mile at a time mindset in both his personal and his professional life. He's a published author, frequent conference speaker, and a passionate coach. He's committed to helping leaders move from checklists to cultures that inspire lasting impact. Barrett currently resides in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we are happy to have you here with us today, Barrett.
Oh, it's my pleasure, gentlemen.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. Before we jump in with our questions for Barrett, I just wanted to mention that the MXO Midwest event has become the go-to gathering for manufacturers in the region to connect, collaborate, and learn from real-world examples of successful digital transformation, shared straight from the manufacturer's mouth. Beginning in 2024, the event has empowered local manufacturers to advance their careers and businesses through valuable knowledge exchange and impactful networking opportunities. So look forward to hearing from Barrett at the event. So Barrett, to get us started, can we just start with some basics? Because, it sounds crazy, but I'm not sure everybody knows what MES is. So what's an MES system? And what are some of the foundational things that need to be in place before going down that road?
Sure, I'll give you kind of the straw man's definition, as Mike kind of mentioned earlier. So basically, it's a manufacturing execution system, and it is what it is. It allows you to use, a digital approach to your manufacturing solutions for the most part. And some of the things that are needed, I'd say the first thing is to have a big why. Why do you want to do it? Because if you don't have a real purpose as to why implement this, it's going to be a lot of lifting and a lot of effort without a lot of results. But once you get past the why, you really have to have a solid infrastructure from an IT standpoint so that you can support the system and they can give you the deliver the results that you're looking for once you get to implementation stage.
So that's a good point. Does your organization, do you look at the systems that, is this an IT initiative? Is it an operations initiative? Do you blend the two together from an organizational perspective? Who owns the MES system?
No, it's definitely an operational initiative with the support of our IT business partner, pretty much how it's driven. It'd be great if the IT group was bringing, a lot of solutions to the table, but then you have to really push to get the ownership from the operations side. So we really drive that process.
Yeah, and you talked in your bio about your leadership approach and such. Maybe talk a little bit about that, because I think it's really great insights that and some organizations do it differently. Some of them, they are technologically led, and you pull the ops teams through. Others lead with the operations and support with IT. So maybe talk about your approach there and how you're driving the outputs with the solutions and support.
Sure. So one of the things, as I mentioned, you have to have a why, you have to have a reason. So I always start with the people, kind of bottom up, and I do a lot of process mapping. So use the kind of rudimentary tools so people can see what the process looks like, and kind of pointing out where the pain points are. So I really get that initial buy-in up front. The people say, you know what, we really need something different than what we're doing today, before I even approach them with what the solution could possibly be. You really gotta feel that sense of urgency first, to say, what we do today is not good enough, and that's really kind of where I start, to say, okay, what's out there that can help us, type of thing. So now I have a hunger that's lingering from the operations team that really wants something.
And Mike, I'm sorry I don't want
Go
to
ahead.
do all the questioning,
Yeah,
but just another question for you. Do you find that why typically coming from the plant level, or do you see that coming from the business leadership level? So is it more of a bottom up or top down type of engagement?
Well, I actually try to get it from the plant level, because if in my experience, if you don't do that, you're gonna get it really slow walked as you implement it. You get a lot more resistance if people don't really understand what you're doing it for. And a lot of times when it's top down, you don't get that. You don't transfer that while we're doing it, and people are surprised that their great idea doesn't just take hold and people run with it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why.
Yeah.
That's
great.
I want to dig in further though with what you're saying for a second, because I'm guessing it's even more nuanced than what you described. Isn't it iterative at the end of the day, where you need the buy-in at the bottom, but you need the buy-in at the top? And so how do you because otherwise you can't do it regardless, right? So you got to have both. And you're saying start at the bottom, go to the top, but then you probably got to top that, get a little bit more nuance there about that, would you?
No, sure, definitely. So again, my approach from where I sit, kind of in the middle, right? And I always start again with the bottom to identify the problems, so I can present that solution from the top end to get the support and the financing, and to bring in the business partners from that. And so part of my job and part of my directive, so to speak, is to bring innovative solutions that help us with our ultimate goals, affecting our bottom line, impacting our customers, improving our quality, and creating a work environment that people enjoy being part of. And so starting from the bottom helps to embody that, because I get that engagement up front, and then I actually have some support and soldiers that can actually take and push the initiative with me as I try to take it up to higher levels.
So I imagine then it sounds like your organization, which is great, that you're empowered to do that work. Okay.
Yes.
There are some organizations that, why I was kind of interested to talk more about this. There are some organizations that hold some of those sort of things closely held at the upper levels of the organization, right? Hey, we're going to tell you what our strategy is. So that's really one of the risks, right? If you don't really empower the group to get that bottom up support, I imagine.
Yeah, I call that playing the short game or the long game, right? So you can play the short game and have it top down driven, and say, this is what you're going to do. These are the controls, and we're going to do this. And you can get things kind of rolling pretty quickly, but you may not get that long-term benefit. And I like to play the long game. So that's why I start with the bottom. They know what their pain points are. Now they're hungry for a solution. And now when I start putting things in place, you really get that excitement going, I think. And that's not hyperbole. I really see that. And that's, for me personally, has driven a lot of my personal success in operations, by being able to take that approach.
Yeah. So sounds like you're a people person, and you're starting with the people. Maybe touch on like how much of what you do is or how much of the challenge you're solving for is technical versus people oriented?
Well, oddly enough, in today's environment, people have a higher technical aptitude than we give people credit for, right? So at least since 2012 or 14, everyone's been accustomed to having smartphones, and now everyone's using multiple apps. And the solutions that we're bringing with MES is no more complicated than that, right? And so that technical aspect is easy, but the cultural part and people understanding a need to change, that's the hard lift, because there's a big resistance there. There's a fear factor there. There's and we're going to continue to see it with MES systems, with AI systems, all the like. And I think if you can quell some of that up front, it makes the road not easy, but at least smoother.
That makes a lot of sense. It's true, and I think you have to have. You mentioned the fear factor. Company culture is so important in this, because if you have the right company culture, then you've already started, if you will, one step ahead with respect to fear. If there's trust in the organization, then even people are more likely to join and be sort of walk with you to learn about the unknown, right? But if there's fear already there, you don't have that culture, you're already kind of one step behind your competitors. I'm guessing in your organization, you've got a very supportive culture that's allowing you to do this as well.
Well, I would say from our key principles, they kind of outline that, right? And so there's always a gap between what you state your key principles are and what you actually do. And so what I look at it is everyone has their own little rowboat. And what I try to do is, from a cultural standpoint, not turn the whole ship at one time, but start turning rowboats. And so if I can do that, I can build momentum and people kind of fall into the wake. And that's really kind of what our culture does as well. Allows me to start tipping rowboats around. And that kind of impacts the culture on a higher level.
So a question for you, Barrett. Do you did the organization, I guess maybe, did you bring MES into the organization, or was MES already there? Because I'm wondering how much you set out, or the organization set out to go get an MES solution versus you're engaging with the plant and you understand that there's a need and you go out and find something and it happens to be labeled as an MES.
So kind of a little bit of both. So we're being a global organization, and sometimes work in a lot of silos. So you have some operations that have best practices, and they're always kind of using MES light, I like to call it, not necessarily full implementation. And so when you see that, you want to bring best practices all around and say, you know what, this is applicable in my region as well. And that's kind of how it kind of spearheaded, kind of benchmarking internally, and then mirroring that up with prior experience to say, we need to bring solutions to the Americas region that can keep us competitive, because that's one of our challenges, as you guys know, in our market. We're one of the higher labor markets, so we got to be better, faster, and more efficient on a global scale than other regions that we may be competing with. So it's kind of a dual approach there.
Excellent. And then do you find, well, I guess my experience or challenges years ago of talking about MES is that in the factory, in the facilities, in the the places where you're using it, a lot of times the people will have a name for it. So the organization, you'll name it something. It'll be the the Barrett system, or whatever, right? It'll be defined as some sort of your organization.
Mike, can you repeat your question? You kind of broke up there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. No, I was just wondering if the folks on the floor that are using it know they're using an MES system, or if you've given it another name and it's got another working name that you use.
No, I wish we were that creative, but we just kept it pretty vanilla. MES is what it is, and I try to always not just use the acronym, because then we get stuck in the alphabet soup and they don't know what anything is, right? It's just ABCs is not alphabet; it's just ABCs, right? So I'm very transparent and say this is manufacturing execution system, and this is what we're doing. We're executing what we do, and we're digitizing it. And I have a big pallet full of paper that we've purchased that's to be used. And I say, you know what? I want to eliminate this. This is $1,000 worth of paper, and we do this every month. Just the paper alone is my incentive. So I have that front and center to remind people of why we're doing this project.
That's really cool. So earlier you mentioned some of the foundational items, having a good why and a good IT infrastructure. Are there some other key principles that you've learned for successful implementation of an MES system?
Yeah, and I think we touched on a little bit, Mike, and that's in terms of culture and being able to empower people to have inputs. And I think that's so important because especially when you take initiatives to the shop floor, those individuals they know where the bodies are buried, I guess you could say, and a lot of times they have ideas, so they can make you better. And if you don't have a culture to listen to them, you're going to leave performance on the table. And I think that's kind of the coup de grace to really being successful is to really engage in people, the workforce, and being part of that process, part of that solution. And that carries on to everything else. That's part of your continual improvement culture. That's part of, being a learning organization. That's part of trying to find those wins every day. And then that, of course, what I call the ether of what we do, that creates that safety environment as well, because people have that awareness and they know that they're part of it.
So I'm imagining then, I'm going to kind of challenge you again, a little bit different road. How important do you think the provider of the MES system is in this process then? So clearly the people side's the sort of the elephant you got to take care of, but the wrong provider can also be where there's not a good fit. Yeah. Tell me how you got through that aspect of implementation.
Yeah, a couple. Yeah, and you're right on that, Mike. We kissed a lot of toads to find the right prince or princes in my standpoint to get a solution there. But what we did was we created an internal team to be that kind of liaison with the operations folks on the implementation side. So we weren't so much relying on the vendor partner to bridge that gap, so that we can have a little bit of internal cohesiveness. And again, that's from a global standpoint. So we brought in some of our leaders from a global footprint to kind of help with the initiative here, and that kind of helped buffer some of that. But again, the risk there also is that the technology changes quickly. One vendor may be in business today, and they may be out of business in 2 or 3 years. So making sure that they have livable proprietary systems that we can rely on is so important.
Was there any sort of guidance from a corporate perspective to use any systems from other parts of the world, or did you have autonomy to choose whatever system you wanted?
Some autonomy, but we want to have a little bit of consistency in systems so that we can share that knowledge, with the providers we use. Otherwise, you have too many flavors of vanilla and no one really knows how to do it. So there was a little bit of tunneling when it came to that.
Excellent. Well, just want to remind everybody that we are speaking with Barrett Hopper and talking about his experience with manufacturing execution systems, the journey with his company, and he'll be speaking at the MX.0 Midwest event here in a couple of weeks. I guess another thing, you talked earlier about like eliminating paper as a result that you're driving toward. What other benefits does the company seek or realize from using the MES system?
So one of the bigger things for me is you get more reliable data integrity and tracking in terms of who did what, when, and how. And that's one of the things that the MES system gives us, so that I can quickly data mine. So if I want to know the profile of one of our products, a history over a 12-month period, I can pull up that product, know exactly what my cycle times were, know who made it, who had touch points within a couple of seconds. With the paper system that I'm filing and sending off site for storage, it may take me 12 months to get that data. So that's a huge benefit for us.
That's so speed there. Anything else? Any other significant business results? I mean, how does it translate to the bottom line?
Yeah, well, in addition to having cost savings on just the paper part, it also improves our quality as well, because we start to build a profile on what makes sense and what works. And so we're utilizing a system now to address our cycle times, which has a direct impact on the bottom line
Mhm.
from an operational standpoint, operational cost standpoint. So
Yeah, I guess what you're really talking about is um, having visibility of things you didn't see before, and with smart people being able really to leverage that to really in any area of the business. If I
right,
understand kind of what you're saying,
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
that's
But
huge.
I will say this. I want to make this point where I see a lot of folks go wrong with MES implementation is especially when it comes from top down, right? We look for an ROI and we try to determine what's our return on investment to make this. And we really have short-sighted view, because it's such a long-term benefit that you get by engaging your workforce and helping to shift the culture where people are involved in process improvement and those things, that way outweighs any dollars and cents that you're going to get on the
So,
cost aspect.
so if I'm
Yeah.
putting together, so yeah, so the one more question about that, Mike, just to kind of take
Right.
and dig in a little bit deeper, Barrett. So then how do you justify it? Because a lot of companies think about payback, right, or ROI as being under 2 years or under 3 years. If you're saying long term, are we outside that, or how do you justify the project then,
Yeah.
or
So
how do you
so
justify it?
Well, again, as I said, if you focus strictly on the ROI, then in many cases you won't do it, you won't move. So when you look at again from a technology standpoint, how important is it for you to be able to mine that data on an instant
Mm-hmm.
basis to make improvements, or to track down any quality concerns or even cost escapes? That is sometimes hard to capture really quickly, but again, long term, you start seeing that over and over and over, and that far exceeds the one-time implementation costs or the small, maybe paper type of initiatives. That's a long term. You keep getting that payback
Yeah.
in perpetuity. So
Yeah, so you need leadership that can understand that
that's
opportunity as well, don't you?
very, very true. Very true.
Yeah, very very good.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Barrett's perspective and what he brings to his organization, and he's going to share with others is really foundational to the conversation we have today about Industry 4.0. Right? We talk about having access to data, getting visibility into information, making informed decisions, those sorts of things. And so I've said for a long time that the MES approach is. We've been doing it for a long time. It's a pretty well understood space. Technologies are coming along to make it easier and a lot of flexibility and a lot of ways, as you mentioned, to do light components, pieces of the solutions and things like that. And I think the approach that Barrett is outlining is the way we should be looking at Industry 4.0 broadly. So I'm just wondering, Barrett, from your perspective, you'll be in Cleveland in a couple of weeks and
Yep.
sharing with the audience. What are you hoping that folks will take away from your presentation and take back to their companies?
Sure. So this is a little bit boilerplate, but I will say that it's a journey. It's a marathon, not a sprint. I like to throw that in there. Being a
Yeah.
marathon runner,
Yeah.
obviously, and but it's a journey, and by journey that means it's not going to be a straight path. There's going to be sometimes where you're going backwards, and then it seems, and before you can move forward. But if you know that up front, you don't get discouraged in the process, and you keep pushing it. And that's what I hope people take away from this. But but you cannot be successful if you don't engage the people. Period. Full stop.
Wonderful. A great way to sort of leave us wanting to come and listen to you. So as we get ready to wrap up today, I'm looking for maybe a final thought you from Mike and a final thought from Barrett, really about this topic around MES. So Mike, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. I mean, a couple of things, a couple of takeaways. One, to reiterate a point that Barrett's made a couple of times, is to understand your why. I think that's really important for people to understand what problem they're trying to solve, and obviously engaging the people and having the infrastructure and being committed to the journey is all really powerful things. But one of the things that Barrett didn't say that I will say is it's obvious to me the role that Barrett plays as a leader in the organization. Mike, you were poking at the idea of iteration between what the business leaders want, what the shop floor wants, and being able to work back and forth there. It's a real skill set, and it's a real value to the organization. And so I think the role of having somebody like Barrett with the perspective is really, really powerful.
That's cool. Thank you, Mike. Barrett, your final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, sure. Well, one, I'm excited about coming up to Cleveland. I've spent a lot of time in that area. I like it. It's won't be snowy yet, I don't think.
No, it was not snowing yet, and I will not be out running with you either. I will be there when you get back from your runs.
Great. But I'm looking forward to being part of the conference and sharing our journey on MES, and really talking and even a little more about some of the challenges and epiphanies that we had along the way. But even more than that, I've actually enjoyed the conversation with Mike here. It's actually been a good experience. You guys are good at what you do. So thank you for having me on today.
Yeah, thank you as well. So we want to thank you for joining us to share your insights, Barrett. It's been really helpful on the implementation of MES systems, and for giving us a preview of your presentation at MXO Midwest, which will be happening in September 16 and 17 in Cleveland, Ohio. We hope you're going to decide to join Barrett and the Industry 4.0 Club at the event. If you haven't registered already, I would like you to go. Here's the website to register. So please sign up. We'd love to see you there, and we think that you'll get a lot from listening to Barrett and really the other speakers and presentations that'll be at the event. The Industry 4.0 Club would like to learn about what you're planning to do. So whether it's an MES system or reading an article about Industry 4.0 or attending an event like MXO Midwest, we'd love to hear from you and hear what you're doing to advance the deployment of Industry 4.0. Drop us a note at our website, www.industry40club.com, or on our LinkedIn page. As well, we have these conversations weekly, and if you'd like to be a guest or someone who'd like to share something with our audience, we'd love to also entertain having you on one of our broadcasts. So again, go to our website or our LinkedIn page and drop us a note. With that, thank you, Barrett. Thanks, Mike. Wish everybody a great rest of the day and rest of the week.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.